but in terms of time as a dimension, do you think that it's a dimension, or do you?
No.
See, I don't think it's a dimension either.
I mean, all you have to do is look at the flip books, with these alternate endings, right? So you can choose your ending depending on what's happening. So what's happening is we are conscious. That is what we are. We are consciousness, and that consciousness creates its own environment almost to some degree, and creates itself, and we create each other. We're all part of everything. So I'm sort of like I don't even know what they call it, a panpsychist.
I'm going to tell you that I have to agree with you, and I think that the reason why people don't is they've never changed their own lives. But like there's been a couple times in my life, usually involving coinciding with a breakup, where I just change everything in my life and I become a completely different person, and the things around me seem to change too.
Yeah. So we are this intelligence. We live in this thing. We are a designer of our lives within the laws of physics as we understand them. But we have a lot of more control about how things emerge, and a lot of people don't realize that they have that sort of power. Although there's all these self-help books that tell people.
Is that on purpose? Do you think that the school system and the government don't want people to know?
That's an interesting observation. I think there is a suppressive effect, but there's also the people internally don't want to know more.
So the Einstein time-space thing for you,
that's right. That's the question.
If that's still up for debate, and we're talking about maybe 100 years from now we wouldn't recognize each other, could it have been too that maybe that's already happened, and that this is
I agree. We're in the next Russian doll, and we're just figuring out that this is the Russian doll that we came from, and we're building our oown next layer Russian doll.
Right.
Yeah, no, I know. That's kind of the way I feel. That's the way it has to be, almost, because in nature,
it almost makes more sense.
It makes no sense.
Else.
Yeah. There is always a copying and a pasting through time, and time is a dimension, but it seems that time is almost just like a thread that's conveniently laid out for you with decision points, and your perception of how long something takes or how long it doesn't take is almost like a Hertz CPU cycle, kind of dependent on how fast your brain is working. Because I tell you, at 57, yesterday was a week ago already. I mean, it feels like everything is becoming compressed. And when you're young, you feel like everything is like incredibly long. Yeah. And they've actually shown biological, reasons for this difference in time. The feeling how time passes. The feeling.
I've heard that. I've looked into that. One thing that I try to do with my life, I feel like you could live longer if you make more memories.
If you pack your life through.
Yeah.
The higher if it's just data compression is something that's interesting when you think about
because that's like
data
real,
compression.
It's saying like your brain is like basically if you go to work, if you go to the same factory job every day for 30 years, you're gonna have literally less memories.
No,
when you're 60,
you have the same memory of the same thing over all the time. So when you look at JPEGs, when you have the TIFF files where the pixel of every photo is actually done, and then they have these compression schemes which take these massive photos and bring them down to like a tiny percentage of what their original thing was. And they do that because they just say, there's all of these pixels were like black. We're just going to bring them all down to 1 pixel, and we're just going to say black pixels in these numbers appear in these areas. So it becomes a mathematical description of where to put the black pixel instead of collecting all the black pixels. So it's much easier to describe something with a mathematical equation, like a circle, that gets a pi r squared. All you need is an r, and that's it. Then you got the circumference of the circle. So it's easier, and that is why we look at Wolfram Mathematica is recently published a paper. If you start looking at reality, it can be sliced into triangles and all these sorts of things. And by the time you get down into the atomic realm, everything can be described with mathematical equations, which means things may not actually be there. What we may be conscious of is a simulation. We may be looking at a description. It's almost like somebody telling us a story.
Do you give any credence to a simulation theory, like
totally.
Elon Musk talks about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, we're developing virtual worlds in the computers, which are now soon potentially going to be unrecognizable. recognizable as being artificial or false.
Hey everyone, it's Brian. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm coming to you from resultsnutrition.com, results with a Z. And I'm here with Abel, and I put Abel on a meal plan a couple months ago, and he's been working out a long time. He's been a customer of mine for a long time. And we started about 21%. And where are you at now, Abel?
I'm down to 17.
Yeah, and how's the food? Is it easy? Is it hard? Give me an idea.
It's a little hard, but the results are worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you've always been putting the time in ever since, what have I known you, like 10 years?
Yep.
Yeah, and you always put the time in, but sometimes the results don't come if you're not eating. So what do you think? I mean, do you suggest a meal plan to other people?
I would.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah, maximize your time in the gym and get results.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, so anyway, you can go to resultsnutrition.com and you click on the meal plan and check it out. I've got some other testimonials on there, and I guarantee you results. You do what I say, I'll get you results.